Now we start with a girl named Yafa who is visiting her Aunt Rich. Rich is very happy to see her because Yafa hasn't visited her in many years. At the same time, Yafa is surprised by Rich's sudden visit. Yafa tells Rich that she had returned home to spend the summer vacation with her father and mother. However, her mother called her and asked her to travel to another city to meet a senior doctor who will supervise her research. Yafa tells Rich that she feels lonely even though she is a child. This is because her father and mother are always busy and only care about their work. When Yafa grew up, she had nothing in her life except to fulfill her father and mother's wishes, which were for her to excel in her studies and enter medical school. This was because her father and mother wanted her to become a doctor like them, although it wasn't Yafa's own desire. She worked hard and excelled in her studies until she achieved her father and mother's dream. But this year, Yafa wanted to spend her summer vacation with her grandmother. This is because she didn't see her father and mother for the past years. When her mother asked her to travel to the doctor who would supervise her research, Yafa felt bored and decided to visit her aunt to spend her vacation with her and enjoy it, even if it's only once in her life. Yafa tells her aunt that her father and mother don't know that she will visit, so her aunt reassures her and tells her that none of them will know that she came. Yafa also knows that her mother hasn't been calling her for years. Then she shows Yafa her room, and Yafa is very happy with it. She looks out of the room's window and sees her aunt's neighbor, Blake, who is working in his garden. It appears that Yafa is interested in Blake and the gardening he does in his garden. The next day, Yafa goes to her aunt's workplace, and we learn that Rich draws advertising posters for restaurants and stores, so Rich asks Yafa to wait for her at the restaurant until she finishes her work. Yafa agrees and goes to the restaurant where she meets the owner, Lena. Yafa also meets Lena's brother, Jess, who has finished his studies and has come to spend his summer vacation with his sister. Yafa is very happy with Lena and Jess's sweet treatment, and Lena suggests that she go out with them on the second day. They go to spend time together at the beach. Yafa agrees, and on the second day, they go to the beach where Jess and Lena are waiting for her. Yafa gets tired and leans on Jess, who is his friend, and they are all happy to have Yafa with them while they are talking. Blake comes and greets Yafa, introducing himself and telling her that he works as a swimming coach at a private club and also works as a lifeguard at the beach. Yafa tells him that she is Rich's neighbor's sister and that she saw him the previous day while he was watering the plants in the garden. While they are talking, Blake notices that his sister Lisa is sitting with her friend Izan in Beirut, and he shouts at Lisa, wanting her to come back home, but Izan stops him and they argue. Yafa takes Blake and is afraid for him, so she goes to separate them. But Izan pushes Blake and hits Yafa, causing her to fall into the sea. Blake quickly comes to her rescue and pulls her out of the water. Yafa thanks him for saving her life, and then Lena comes and takes Yafa back to the house. The next day, Yafa wakes up from her sleep due to a call from her mother. Her mother is very worried about her because she called many times and Yafa didn't answer. Yafa gives her the phone and tells her that she lost it, but she found it the previous day. She asks her mother if she traveled to the conference yet or not, and Yafa tells her that she hasn't traveled yet and will leave the next day. After that, Yafa leaves the house and drinks her coffee in the garden. She meets Blakey, who is going to work, and he offers to teach her swimming. Yafa thanks him but tells him that this is her last day in the city and she will travel the next day. Then Yafa goes to the beach to enjoy the beauty of the sea. She sits on the beach and relaxes until she falls asleep. After a while, Blake wakes her up because she has been exposed to the sun for a while and her skin might get burned. Blake invites her for lunch, and she agrees. They start walking together, and Yafa asks Blake why he had a fight with his sister the previous day. Blake tells her that his sister Lisa is everything in his life, especially after the death of their parents in an accident 10 years ago. At that time, Lisa was only 7 years old, and Blake took care of her and considered her his daughter, not just his sister. But as Lisa grew up and entered her teenage years, Blake realized that he couldn't handle her and that they were always arguing. After Blake finishes talking and asks Yaffa about her parents, she tells him that she hasn't seen them in 4 years and feels like they don't know her and she doesn't know them. This is because she spent her childhood alone and then went to a boarding school before traveling to Chicago to continue her studies. She tells Blake that her parents believe that she doesn't need anything in her life and that she is supposed to travel to meet the doctor overseeing her research. However, she got bored and decided to spend the summer with her aunt. The night comes, and Blake arrives at Yaffa's house, showing that Yaffa is interested in him, and she changes her mind about traveling and decides to spend the rest of her vacation in the city. Yaffa tells Blake that she agrees to let him teach her swimming lessons, and Blake tells her that he will pick her up every morning before he starts work an hour earlier. And while they are talking, Rich appears, and Yaffa is happy to see that Yaffa is enjoying her time with Blake. The next day, Yaffa meets Blake as planned, and he takes her to the swimming pool, where he teaches her the first lesson on how to control herself underwater. After Yaffa finishes her swimming lesson, she returns home feeling happy. She meets Lisa, Blake's sister, by chance, and she goes to meet her. She learns that Blake is teaching her swimming, and Lisa learns that Yaffa is spending her vacation in the city. Lisa suggests showing Yaffa a beautiful place in the city, and Yaffa agrees. They go with Lisa to the river, where Yaffa realizes that this is the place where Lisa goes alone when she is upset. Lisa asks Yaffa not to tell her brother about this place, and Yaffa agrees without revealing why. However, Yaffa asks Lisa why she is always arguing with Blake. Lisa tells her that Blake doesn't trust her and thinks she always acts recklessly, and he is always busy and doesn't talk to her to know what she needs in her life. Yaffa understands Lisa's problem and that she feels lonely, so they go to a restaurant where they meet Rich, Lena, Jess, and Chris. Yaffa informs them that she will make a new drink invention for them. They like it, and Yaffa asks if she can work as a waitress at the restaurant to serve her new drink to the customers because she is sure they will like it. The night comes, and Yaffa stands there offering the new drink to the customers. It turns out that the customers like the taste of the drink and they order large quantities. Blake comes and tells her that he heard about the new drink and wants to try it, so she serves it to him. Blake dances with Jess, and Yaffa is extremely happy because it's the first time she's enjoyed her time in this way. The next day, Yaffa is with Blake at the swimming pool, and he teaches her how to make her body float on the water's surface. She struggles but eventually succeeds at the end of the lesson. Yaffa is very happy about what she learned that day. The following day, Blake teaches Yaffa how to move her legs under the water, and Yaffa is delighted when she realizes that she can actually swim. It's her first time experiencing this feeling in her life, and it shows that Yaffa is starting to love Blake and trying to get closer to him. She asks him why he is teaching her swimming, and he tells her that he is happy when he spends time with her. Yaffa is touched by his words and believes that he loves her just as she loves him. After the swimming lesson, Blake is outside with Yaffa, and by chance, he sees his sister Lisa arguing with her friend, Izan. As soon as Izan sees Blake walking away quickly, he goes to Lisa to make sure she is okay. However, Lisa refuses to talk to him. Yaffa approaches Lisa and asks if she is okay. Lisa tells her that she is fine but needs to be alone. Yaffa leaves her with Lisa and asks Blake for the car keys so she can go home. Blake agrees and gives her the car keys. Afterward, he goes to sit by the sea and feels sad. Yaffa loves him and sits beside him, comforting him more than his own sister. She tries to talk to Lisa, and Blake thanks her for caring about him and his sister. He tells her that he is happy because she appeared in his life. The days pass, and Blake continues to teach Yaffa how to swim. They grow closer and start going out together to various places, until one day Blake takes Yaffa and they go to the beach. Blake goes into the water and asks Yaffa to follow him. She is able to swim on her own, and she is happy because she can swim in the sea without fear. And then the night comes, and Blake and Yaffa spend the night together. The next day, they wake up late, and Yaffa tells Blake that they are late for their swimming lesson. Blake tells her that she doesn't need any more swimming lessons. After that, They have breakfast together, and after breakfast, they go out for a walk. Yaffa is filled with joy during this time and can't believe what is happening to her. One day, she decides to invite her friends for dinner, and Blake is also present with them. They all notice that Yaffa is connected to Blake, and they are all happy for her suddenly. Yaffa receives a message from her mother, advising her that her parents have gone to the city where she was supposed to continue her scientific research. Yaffa panics and doesn't know how to react, so she tells Rich that she needs to call her mother and tell her the truth. Yaffa calls her mother and father and discovers that they are at her Aunt Rich's place. She gets angry at her mother for deceiving her and asks her to leave the city and take the first flight to join them. However, Yaffa refuses and ends the call with her mother. At that moment, Blake goes to his sister Lisa's house to check on her. He finds Lisa still not at home, and he becomes very worried. Yaffa, who is happy, comes to know that she refused to travel to be with her parents. But she is shocked when Blake tells her that she should travel and see her future, and he reveals to her that what happened between them was just a fleeting, ordinary relationship that happens between two people on a journey, and each one of them will return to their normal life. Yaffa forces a smile and walks away, feeling a deep sadness and disappointment. She tries to control her emotions and hold back her tears, but unfortunately, she can't. She sees her aunt and runs into her arms. The next day, there is a party at the restaurant, and Blake is invited to it. Suddenly, Isan enters and asks about Lisa. Blake becomes concerned and tells him that she left the house the previous day, even though she was supposed to be with him. Isan informs Blake that he hasn't seen Lisa at all. Blake quickly calls Lisa but finds her phone switched off, translated to English, so Yaffa tells Blake that she knows Lisa's whereabouts, and they get in the car and head to the river there. Blake actually finds Lisa sitting alone and feeling sad. He approaches her and tells her that he didn't come to argue with her, but he got scared when he realized she had disappeared from around him. Lisa asks him to give her more space and trust her more than before. Blake agrees on the condition that if she encounters any problem, she should come to him immediately. Lisa loves him and assures him that she will do that because she has no one else in the world. Then they return together to the city. In the city, Blake asks Lisa to have a private conversation, and they go to the mountain. Blake thanks Yaffa for her help and apologizes to her for the words he said the previous day. He understands that he was upset because of his argument with Lisa. Blake tells Yaffa that he loves her just as she loves him, but he can't leave the city and live with her away from his sister Lisa. Yaffa acknowledges his point and realizes that she will have to travel to see her parents. She tells Blake that this might be a good opportunity for her to get closer to them. The next day, Blake is sitting at home, and it is evident that he is upset and sad. Lisa smiles at him and suggests that she goes with them to the airport to bid farewell to Yaffa. However, Blake remains silent and doesn't respond. Lisa loves Yaffa and gets in the car with her to take her to the airport. Afterwards, Yaffa takes a taxi to the city where her parents are, and they have a meal together. Yaffa apologizes to them for her actions, and they forgive her. She informs them that she thought they would spend the vacation together, especially since she hadn't seen them for 4 years. However, her mother explains that they have been very busy and had to travel. The next day, it becomes clear that Yaffa has accepted her reality and embraced her life without her parents. She interacts with her mother's apology and tells her that next year they will all travel together and spend time in Rish. Yaffa bids farewell to her mother, who cries. And the next day she is studying in her hotel room. Suddenly, she hears a knock on the door. She opens it and finds Blake standing there. She loves and philosophizes to herself that he couldn't bear to be away from her, and he came after her because he decided to continue his life with her. And they live happily ever after at the end, but there's one thing you need to do. Please support us by liking and subscribing to the channel to receive all the latest updates. And now we leave you in peace. We wish you a good night and sweet dreams.